What's going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with another market recap video. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I just started it out. So long as these videos continue to be helpful, I will continue posting them. Let's jump right into it. Today we're going to be talking about the price action in the indices, some of the action in the sectors and subsectors, some of the trades that I took today, as well as some options order flow at the end of the video. So let's jump right into it. So as we can see here, the action in the ES was pretty muted. We were down 0.15% for the S&P 500. We were down 1.79% in the Qs. The big winner was the Russell, up 1.86%, and the Dow was up 0.96%. And as you can see here in the ES, we had that big run up to this R1 pivot level, ended up coming off, majorly from that level. And today was really just a doji day. We'll take a look at the Qs as well. The Qs, in my point of view, yesterday was where most of the risk was, because you could see we were rotating from the tech and momentum names into those value names. So like I said in yesterday's video, we had this big red candle in the Qs, and I wanted to come in with a hedge on the books just in case today got very ugly. And luckily it did not get that ugly. We ended up selling off into the monthly value area. We tagged the monthly point of control as well as the 50-day simple moving average, and we came off those lows, formed a bit of a hammer candle, and settled somewhere around the 20-day simple moving average. So I ended up, as you can see here, bam, these are some of the trades I posted today. Let's take a look. So for the Qs, I put this hedge on, yesterday going into the close, long these December 18th puts. I ended up closing those out about halfway through the session for a small gain, up 21.1%. And that's pretty funny. I said now that my hedge is closed, the indices can feel free to actually fall apart, because that's usually what happens as soon as I remove my hedges. So yeah, the action, we did fall into this monthly value area, as I just said, but we did recover some. So to be honest, if you're a bull, this is actually what you want to see, where we had a massive run up. Some would say it was too far too fast. Had a big red candle, ended up following through. But if we are able to hold this level, then we could continue on, and who knows, maybe we could even hit that R1 pivot. So if the price action weakens further from here tomorrow and we do close below that monthly point of control, I will be adding my hedges onto the books. But as of right now, I'm waiting and seeing. We'll go to the small caps, our big winner for the day. Small caps have been so bullish. This is a massive run. Ends up having the vaccine day where we had a massive gap up, all the shorts covered, and then we ended up falling, throughout the day. So here we have a nice green candle. This one was actually pretty bullish. But the thing is with these small caps, and I'll show you over here, the small caps, they've had a massive run. This is definitely not where I want to be adding exposure, because as you can see from this chart, the small caps are trading above where they were prior to COVID. And a lot of these small cap companies have had their earnings impaired. Even if we get the vaccine, it's going to take a long time for those earnings to get anywhere near where they were pre-COVID. So for that reason, I think this is a great run. I am long some value stocks, but I certainly won't be adding at this point. I think this is great to either trim up your position, or I could see some people even closing out their position or whatever, but I don't really see the need to add here when it is so extended from those moving averages. And then we have the Dow Jones finally. This one was another very solid performer. This one I actually like a little bit better than the small caps, because the businesses are a bit higher quality. And as you can see, very similar action. We actually had a green candle yesterday and more follow through and pushed higher today. So this one was actually very positive. And then if we dive into the sectors and subsectors, these past few days have been very painful for momentum investors, let's be honest. Those stocks have been taken to the absolute woodshed after a nice long run. Let's see. So we can see the big winners for today were the regional banks, KRE, having a great monthly performance of plus 20%. European financials were the other big winner. And this is another one where these are so low quality. I'm certainly not chasing this either. But it is a great run, and you have to respect the price action. The cannabis names coming off a little bit also had a great run. I can definitely see why they might take a breather. Towards the bottom of the list, in terms of the worst performers, we had TAN, the solar stocks, home builders, and the gold miners. And what's so funny about these solar stocks is, this is another space that had a massive run before the election. I heard people saying like, oh, if Biden wins, these stocks are going to completely moon. And sure enough, it ended up being a sell the news event. So let's take a look at those solar names I do really like for the long term. But yeah, you can see they had a massive run. And this really isn't too bearish. It's just some sideways consolidation, which makes sense after such a big run. And then we'll take a look also at some of the style factors. And these style factors, if you're not looking at them, this is a lot of what drives the markets at this point. It is a lot of big institutional investors, hedge funds, etc., and they are constantly switching, between these style factors. And you can see a lot of the companies within the same style factor are moving pretty much in tandem. So if we look, high beta has had a great week, great month. Cyclicals also on a great tear. And the big losers are defensives and momentum names, which certainly makes sense with some of the price action we've been seeing. A lot of these high flyers, including Zoom, Peloton, Cloudflare, a lot of these names that everyone had been piling into are starting to correct. And it makes sense given that we have this vaccine. Some of those names are coming off. As for some of the trades that I did today, I already talked about that. I closed my hedge as the price action started to get a little bit more positive on the day. This was another trade that I took, HMY. This is a gold mining company. And I saw some of these call buyers coming in early in the day. Gold miners have been completely beaten up, and they have the worst momentum. I typically do like to have some exposure to them as a hedge against, the US dollar, the Fed money printing, all that good stuff. So I did decide to go in for a small position, and I added some of the January 15, 2021 calls for 80 cents. Small position, just took a shot right there. I was looking at adding to some of those momentum names because here is sort of, philosophy that I've been operating on for a while, where we'll have these nice runs where growth outperforms value, and these growth stocks completely rip. And what happens is a lot of people, they end up piling into the growth stocks, pretty much right as they're peaking. And, you start to see all the growth gurus on Twitter posting their positions, posting their P&L, how awesome they're doing. And I can tell a lot of people probably get suckered into buying right there, which is typically where you want to sell. So with these momentum names, I pulled up the momentum style factor index. Like for instance, when they have this massive tear, that's when you want to be trimming. When they are, going through a big corrective phase, that's where I've been adding to positions. So like for instance, going into the election that week prior, you can see from my Twitter feed that I was adding positions into the teeth of this sell-off. So naturally, I ran a poll on Twitter. Almost no one had full exposure to the market really at the lows. And sure enough, you had a massive rip. And I am sure there's a lot of people that have been adding exposure all on the way up. For me, I've been trimming into these massive gaps and really up here as well. So for me, now that we're coming off in a major way, now I am ready to start dipping my toes in the water into some of these momentum stocks. And one of those that I ended up going into was one of my favorites, apps. So as you can see, I picked up some December calls. I actually picked up some March calls as well. I had a lower strike, but I tweeted these. I picked up the Decembers, the 35 strikes. And you can see apps. This is one that I posted a deep fundamental dive. So I feel very confident in terms of, I know what this company is capable of, and I can tell if it's getting oversold, that sort of thing. So as you can see here, we tested that 50-day simple moving average, and buyers did come in to support the stock. So that is one where we've had, we topped out around $42. We're down almost 25%. So for that reason, I feel pretty comfortable adding to my position here. And I ended up adding those calls and nibbling on the calls. I would really like to add some more exposure around this 30 level if I get the chance to. The other one that I added to as well was Peloton. And Peloton is another one. Or maybe I probably didn't take the screenshot here. But I did post this one on Twitter as well. Where Peloton, this is pretty funny. One of my friends, I'm not going to call him out by name on the video. One of my friends that has been a Peloton bull ended up getting shaken out of the stock around $93 today. And as you can see, these are two very big shakeout candles. This is something that I tend to look for really in any stock. Do you have these long wick candles that are shaking out a lot of the weak hands? That's exactly what we saw today. So I ended up adding some calls in here as well. For this stock, this is one, I'm not going to be too aggressive with it because I do know we are coming out of COVID. This is really more so of an oversold bounce play. And I would like to target that monthly value area low at $114. So that's one that I definitely have on. Like I said, I'm just starting to dabble in these momentum stocks again. I have further room to continue to add. If they, continue to fall, I'll pick up some more. But for right now, I do like sort of dabbling in these, dipping my toes in the water. I am holding on to my value stocks, and if those continue to run, such as the cruisers, I will, start paring those back as well. I've already started to pare those back. Then the other trade that I did, I shorted Carnival Cruises. This one, I took this trade, pretty close to the open today. This was one where these cruisers, I am long Norwegian and Royal Caribbean from much lower levels, really before they started to take off in anticipation of that vaccine. So for this, I saw that Carnival Cruises was doing a stock offering, and they're essentially diluting all of their existing shareholders. So for this, I know typically when these companies announce offerings, the stock tends to crater. I was like, you know what? I'll add some calls as a day or some puts, as a day trade to really just hedge out my other positions. So I added the November 2020, the 18 strikes. I ended up closing these later in the day for a nice healthy gain of about 25%. So as you can see, today I was pretty nimble in the trading day. That's really what I tried to be anyway. I played a little bit to the short side, but then I ended up nibbling on some of those growth stocks. And that's really what I want to continue to do. So like for instance, we had a very nice run last week. And if you were able to monetize on some of those gains, right now I'm not really trying to push the envelope and try to deliver some amazing return, go for broke right now, but we just had a really nice bullish sequence. So for right now, my priority is getting set up in some high quality momentum names, letting my value names work for me, and just continuing to manage risk. If we end up, having a nasty day tomorrow, I will be adding some hedges back on. So for me, it's really defense first, protect the capital, and get myself set up when that next bullish sequence comes. And then last but not least, we can go through some options order flow just to see what people were doing today. So let's see. I typically like to search first for the largest orders because, it's really the big institutions that are moving the market. So let's see. We did have for today, we had some people essentially hedging or betting against the run in small caps. The FANG names, I typically see calls going up in those almost every day, so not really that big of a deal. Yeah, more FANG names. Somebody's getting bullish on Twilio, taking advantage of the dip. Yeah, let's see, Twilio. Yeah, Twilio has come off quite a bit. This is probably, this one is nice too. This one was also defended by the bulls. You can see that very long wick. So this is actually one that I'll continue to look at in the future, to be honest. That one looks really nice. Okay, we have some people betting on Boeing here, throwing down millions on Boeing. Wow, this is for 2023, 2022. Wow, yeah, these guys are getting aggressive in Boeing. Let's see Boeing. Okay, yeah, I could definitely see it where, Boeing has had a nice run. Like, I think it's funny, like, much less people are trying to get Boeing calls down here, but sure enough, after it explodes, they all want in. But yeah, I could definitely see a path, to where it hit, in the prior massive short squeeze. So, it kind of makes sense. And let's see, we got some Q's hedges. This is so funny. I notice this all the time where nobody wants to buy these hedges when the market is ripping and volatility super low. Once there's some panic in the streets, people are worried about the momentum stocks. Suddenly now everybody wants to hedge. So that's another reason why I love looking at options order flow, because in my opinion, it's not like, oh, I just go with every time somebody's buying calls, I buy calls or whatever. But it really allows you to see the psychology of the markets. And a lot of times you can see that these guys, they tend to get it wrong where they do buy calls at the tops and puts at the bottoms. So it is nice for seeing some capitulation. Yes, that's really the main gist of the large options order flow for today. If you would like to do a trial of this platform, Cheddar Flow, I do have an affiliate link. You can click on it on my Twitter profile, and they give you a free 7 days. I really like the platform, so that's always available. Also, I enjoy posting the content out for free for everybody. So if you're not interested in purchasing it, that's fine also. I'll continue to post the order flow. So that about does it. We did go through the indices. Like I said, really what I'm going for now is, be defensive, pick your spots, and selectively choose some of these momentum names to really go after. But that's about it for today. As always, we're going to have to see what the river brings. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Feel free to like it and subscribe. Thank you very much.